Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It is Thursday, it's February 26th. This will be our chart lesson for today. I'm doing this early again today. I didn't come in until about 10:30. Took a couple of little trades and I'm going to try to get out of here again before it starts cooling down and the roads start getting slick again. But you probably noticed no midday chart today. That's because I wasn't here. The weather's been crazy here. As I stated yesterday when I left early, I live in the South and we're not prepared for this stuff, and you don't want to be driving around all the crazies that do try to get out and drive in it, even if you prepared for it. So everything's shut down here, and that includes me and my office as well. I shut down today. But I decided to come in. I was getting a lot of emails, and I know people probably, wondering where I'm at and so forth. And so I wanted a chance to try to catch up on email and not get way behind. So I'm here for a couple of hours, but I decided I'd go ahead and post you what I see today. And I see a possible two-tiered. It's trying to hold here, but I mean, prices have been in this little area here for. We traded up into that at 11:48, and it's 12:12. So for 30 minutes, we've made maybe 4 or 5 bars. There's just not much happening today. There was a little movement early on. We had a nice move down and a nice move up. It looks like a trading range day. Most of the price action has been within these two tiers right in here, as you can see. And we spent most of the day in this upper tier. We did bounce down into this one, but it didn't hold long. We bounced down into it again, and it made a higher low. So I would think prices are going to try to work lower if we can muster up any volume and any uh, you know strength at all. But for now, I would just classify this as a range day. Not a lot of trades either. There's a few. I'm going to talk about this area right here. Had several emails when I got here this morning about this trade. When I got a chance to look at email, and I didn't actually see it this way. But when you put it on there, it looks pretty valid. This would have been your confirmation. You really didn't have it confirmed yet. This would have been your confirmation. But there's not really a very good setup there either. So I'm not, who's to say that this is not valid? It may be, and prices were too strong. We couldn't pull back. We tried to make a retest here and couldn't. And the day's not over yet. We may make a retest before it's over. But if the red channel that I have on here is valid, what do you expect to happen after it comes off the lows? It's going to go back to the highs. You didn't really have a lot of evidence to find that early on, but that's why you can't argue with the price action. Once you get a confirmed trend going this way, you got to stay with it until prices tell you they're doing something different, because there may be a bigger pattern in play that you don't see that causes prices to do something different. But even then, there were some clues why you don't want to go short here or here. And so even if you saw this channel, what you want to do is wait on a second entry off of this high, and you never really get that. You do to a point. I guess I shouldn't say you don't get it. Depends on, I saw a couple of different charts. This was a second entry on some charts, but as you can see, it's a first entry on mine. And there's a couple of bars stacked up there. This bar couldn't break below that one. Then this one breaks lower. If prices would have ticked up and turned back down and then gone lower and gave me a bearish bar to get short below, I might go short then. But I'm not taking this first entry with a bunch of bars stacked up under the EMA when you know where we're probably, if this channel is valid, where do you think prices are going after they just came off the low? What happened when they came off the low here? They went back to the high. So what do you expect to happen when they come off the low here? They're going back to the high. And if you draw these shorter term channels in here, but I saw it as normally your trend comes off your first couple of swings. So I drew it right there, and it got confirmed right there. And then we had the bounce, the break, the move to a new low, and then we started correcting and going the other way. So that's how I saw it. But I can see putting this on here how you could be thinking, hey, if this gets confirmed right here on this third touch, but it doesn't. It fails and it goes higher. So the first chart I saw, This was the second entry on the guy's chart, but he had about 4 doji stacked up there. And what does that tell you? That's congestion, and prices will usually, so you got to wait. And plus, you're not back to the upper side. So keep that in mind. This one, there's no reason to take that short at all there. That looks a little bearish, but you know, you don't want to get fooled right there after. And plus, you got 2 legs down. And if you saw this channel, you got a break and a new low. So, and if you're drawing your trend line here, you have no break of it yet. So, doesn't mean that you won't get a short setup, but you don't really get a good short setup there. Then it comes up here and it shoots right through the EMA, and now it's bouncing off, acting as support. You get a little bullish bar that it ticks higher. You don't want to go long right there. You want to get some kind of trap first, and then you get this bearish bar. It still didn't close on its low, but if prices would have broke through that, I probably would have taken that short too if I was looking at that channel. But it never broke lower there. And on the other guy's chart, this was a big bearish. It closed all the way on its low, but prices never broke lower. He went short right here. And he had several bars stacked up there. So there's clues there to be leery of this. And it's not necessarily, you know, the way I looked at his chart, if I remember correctly, it wasn't necessarily a terrible setup, but it wasn't a good setup. And after 2 legs down, and prices bouncing back, the second time coming through the first time prices come through the EMA, that's probably telling you something, unless they continue down and you got a nice trend that this line is working off of. But you don't have that here. But you definitely don't want to go short here without a really good setup. When it comes up here, you need a decent setup, and there's just not one there. This is a bearish bar, but look, it's an inside bar to a bullish bar, and it can't break below it. And then it does break below it, and what happens? It turns back up. So the fact that it turned back up and then turned back down, I like that, but it's still, you got to wait on a bearish bar and make sure this thing closes bearish. And it does somewhat, but it doesn't quite close on it, because that's how they trap you. They'll make it look like it's going to be real bearish, and the next thing you know, it closes back up here and goes higher or something. Just like they made it look like it was going to be bullish, and then they closed it down here and made it bearish. So they're, you know, it's really undecided. This is what I would call kind of an equilibrium point. And there's certain reasons why prices find equilibrium points, but by now, the sellers should be starting to overtake the buyers if this is a big, you know, down market. Notice what happened here. It took it a minute to get going, but once it did, it's off to the races. And here, it never really even got going. You got your nice setup bar here, or possibly nice setup bar, but prices couldn't break lower. And so by waiting and being patient and waiting for the setup to prove itself, you get a chance to go long there. I like, because now you got a failed second entry short and a chance to go long. That's what I was looking at, but I wasn't looking at this channel here. I didn't really see it that way. Your first 2 swings are here, and you got it confirmed there, and then you get the break, move to a new low, and now you're moving up. And this was the first close really outside this one. A couple legs up, and then you're working down. You get a close outside here, move to a new low, you're working up. You finally got a close outside, but you never got a retest. You may not, if this channel is valid, because prices may not be able to break through there. I wouldn't be going short right here out of that congestion though, above the EMA, because it may tick lower and trap everybody and then go higher. If you get a good setup bar, now that's a pretty decent setup bar. It closed on its low. You know, you may drop a limit order right there and try to catch on with it. But notice the difference there of what happened. It moved quicker than what you would want, but you didn't have that here because it closed, and then you had a chance to get short, and it never did. And that would have been a nice trade right there if you could have got in it quick enough. So I hope that makes sense for those of you that got trapped right here. You know, you got to make sure you're reading it right. And I'm not saying that this channel here and here is wrong, but it never gets confirmed. It looks like it's going to confirm it here, but it goes right on through. So all you got is 2 swings. There's no confirmation of that trend line. Yeah, it's got a few touches down here, but what about these lows right here? Um, Sometimes you'll see that. I would have been, if I was going to measure from the lows, I'd have been more apt to do it like that. Let's just see what we get there. See, and that, people that saw it that way now probably got trapped right here. So, you know, a lot of this is interpretation. It really is. But this is what I saw. This was the first two swings. This is your move down. You overshot it here, so there's your clue. You're probably going to overshoot it over here, possibly, and it does. You get your little trap, a chance to get short. Now this is a little aggressive because look, it's congestion again, and so you really need to wait probably on this bar, and then it's got a big stem down here. So you might have wanted to wait on this one and use a limit order and see if it comes back, and it does right here. If you didn't get filled over here, it comes back right here. And then I like this one for a short. I almost made this one green as well, but you got your new high, first entry pullback, second entry. There's a failed second entry long. It looks it's close enough to be a breakout pullback short, and you're looking for that new low. It could be a little bit iffy going short into that double bottom. But I liked it, and it turns out to be a pretty good trade. And this one was a little iffy because of all of that overlap right there, just like here. Um, but there was a second entry short right here. You wouldn't want to take that one. But notice here you got the close outside, and you got an attempt to go higher, and you just got a little double top, and it goes on. If you did enter here, you definitely got to I'd use a limit order. And if you entered here, I liked it just putting your stop there and going short. But again, this is real close to being green. I could just as easily make this green because you are going short into that support. And there's a lot of times that's going to fail. But that's what's hard. People watch this move all the way down, and they don't take either one of them because they're not perfect setups. And then they see these and they're not perfect setups. But they miss a lot of the other clues, and they take them, and and then they're trapped on the wrong side. So draw these shorter term. I mean, you can see that little trend down there, and that's the first close outside. So there's a chance it'll trap people and push short. Push short. The only reason I left this one red is because it's a failed second entry long at a place you would expect people to try to get long. So it's probably going to trap them. And even though it may not go very far below that double bottom there, it's probably going to go far enough to get a scalp because you got a lot of people trapped, and their orders are all going to be there, and look what happens. They all got to exit. A lot of them probably got long there, and then some more got long there. Trying to guess that this is the bottom of maybe a range because it does look a little rangy, but if you draw your trend line right there off the only real place you had to draw it at that point, then you realize this is the first break of it, and you couldn't draw off of this range, off of this one till here, and that's how I would have drawn that one. But it looks like it's going to confirm it here. It really hadn't touched yet. You got to really draw it down into here before it touches, and that probably still fits okay. I don't see a problem with that. You're just touching your close there. You're just touching the high there. So that's probably right. So it does touch right there. But it doesn't go lower. It just kind of hangs there. And then you get a little break, and it tries to go higher. Then it touches it again. So this would have been your setup bar. The only one I would have been willing to go short below right there. And it never does. It turns up instead. And you get the failed second entry short, and you got your trap. So I hope that's clear. That's about all I know to tell you on that one. And if you got trapped there, you just got trapped there. I mean, that's what happens sometimes. Even the best traders get fooled. That's the whole idea behind it, is to fool you into entering in the wrong direction and having to exit and pushing prices higher. That's exactly what they did here. You ran into resistance, and they ran it down a couple of times. There's no short set up there at all. and you get a chance to go long because of the uh, little failed double bottom, and that's back up into that support area there again. So I like that one to the upside. And then of course you come back up here, you make a new high where? Right there, but you get a break. It would have been tempting to go short right there, but look how far we've been away from the EMA. You're kind of bouncing off of it. You better wait on a good setup. And I think you really need to wait on a second entry off of this high, and that looks a little bit like one. So you might have even got trapped right there if you were using just a one tick stop above the signal bar. So you might have even got stopped out there. Uh, but when it turned up and broke higher by one tick and turned down with that big bearish bar, I semi like that one. It's still a lot of congestion and stuff across there. So I still don't even like really entering there. I think because of that tick higher, a lot of traders are going to take that one. But when it ticked higher here, and then you got the bearish reversal, and notice something else about this one. It kind of breaks below, pulls back, and then turns down. So it's like a little breakout pullback for all that support right across there, and the EMA as well. And I don't think you can enter this one down in here, this close to this support again across here. It pushes on through. I'd been more apt to go long right there. There's an aggressive long right there. I'll actually circle that one. And we're headed higher again, and you can see your trend line until that trend line gets the close. And notice it tried to make a retest a couple of different times and gave up. That would have been the only place I would have been willing to get short. And you saw how fast that one moved because it happened right during our video. So that's what this looked like, but it never broke lower. Actually, this looks better than this one because this one closed on its low and this one didn't. This one looks similar, but notice how it never really broke higher yet, and you don't have a break of this trend line yet either. So, I hope all that makes sense. But that's what I saw so far today. Maybe only 1, 2, 3, 4 solid setups. There's a couple more aggressive ones that if you really understand price action, you understand what's going on, you probably want to try to enter them. So, and it would have been tempting to enter here. The only reason I don't like entering here is because of the overshoot on this side. And you don't know for sure that this is an overshoot. This could be this could turn out to be a midline. Doesn't end up that way, but you got to assume that it's an overshoot until you get more evidence that it's a midline. But this is an overshoot, and so that tells you, especially when you're not getting you're just starting to get all those dojis right there. And the reason you're getting all those dojis is it's congestion. People there aren't enough. It's kind of a point where the buyers and the sellers are all equal. Okay, I had an interruption there, but anyway, not much more to talk about today. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Yeah, for those of you, let me back up to this one more time, then I'm going to wrap it up. Notice how each of these, there's a little bit of congestion. Your best trades will not come, you don't have a lot of congestion, just like right here. All that congestion would have kept you from going short, and then you get the trap and you go long. And so you got to be careful around that congestion. And anytime you get 3 or more bars stacked up and they got a bunch of stems, especially if you got a doji, that's a doji right there. It's a little bit of a reversal bar, but it hadn't climbed far to get to right there. So I'd still classify that as a doji. It could have easily ticked down one tick and really closed kind of in the middle. Now this one, see how big the stem is here, and it closes almost on its high. That's more of a reversal type bar. This is the same thing. These little ones here are more like dojis. I'd classify that as a doji, that one. But these are definitely all dojis right here. Notice how they're like 1 bar trading ranges. They're just, there's equilibrium. People are what it is, the buyers are probably starting to slow down and the sellers are starting to overtake, but they haven't yet. And so you got to wait and see clearly who's going to overtake the other one. And here it's not clear. It looks like it's going to be clear right here, but it doesn't do it. They just fool everybody and it goes the other way. And and this one's similar, but notice how, this closes back in its middle. That's telling you there's a reason that the buyers are still, every time it drops down in that area, people are willing to buy it. They're not selling it, they're buying it. And that's your clue. And that was the clue here. Every time it came back to the EMA, people were trying to buy it rather than sell, um, because it would climb back up. And you finally get one bar that can close through, and it's just temporary, and then it goes the other way. So I hope that's clear. That's about the only clues you got there. And if you get trapped, you just have to exit, or you reverse or reverse. And if you're not sure you're trapped, don't reverse, just exit. And that's the main thing I wanted to say before I wrap this up. Uh, Anytime you're unsure of what's going on, if it's not 100% clear, don't enter. Just like you could have skipped both of these trades, but it's hard. And then people have been sitting here since 8:30, and they hadn't really had a trade yet that they could enter, or maybe even since 7 o'clock, and they hadn't had a trade yet they could enter, and they get antsy, and then they see it start moving, and they're saying, shoot, I knew I should have entered that trade, and they watch it, and they watch it, and they watch it, and then maybe they try to enter short here, or here, or here, and they just get trapped. If they just waited and been patient, and then enter when they do see the trade, then you're okay. And that's easier than said than done, but that's the key to it, is being patient. And then when you do see the good setup, don't question it. Just take it. And but what will happen is people will question it all the way down here, and then finally they decide, I can't question it anymore, but then it's too late. It's going the other way. And notice this, that there's two legs down here. That's a big clue. There's your first leg, and then there's your second leg. And it's about a measured move. We actually overshot it by a few ticks. So actually, if you put it right at the top, where's your measured move? Right where this line is, basically. And that's an important clue as well. You've got two legs down. The market moves in two. So then you move up. And when it's just really gotten slow here, there's just not much happening. I just wanted to share one more email with you that I got today from another trader. There's a little bit more in here. Let me just glance at it. But I just wanted to read this one part. It says, it is crazy that no matter how the market is, trending, range bound, choppy, or whatever the case, if you follow the rules and are patient, everything works out so well. And I thought that was a very interesting comment that I wanted to share with everybody else. And I can remember days when this particular trader would send me emails, and she'd just be completely couldn't understand why something happened, and just she was having a hard time with it. But lately, that most of the emails I get from her sound just like that one, and that light has gone off for her, and she gets it. Doesn't mean she probably doesn't make any mistakes or have any losing trades, because you do. But as you start to get this stuff, it gets easier and easier, and you really start to recognize what's going on. And that's the real key. Going back again to what I was telling you about again, is if you see the big picture and you recognize what's happening, it tends to help if you know what prices are doing. Prices have moved two legs down, so the odds are they're probably going to move up. Doesn't mean they will. You might, if the market starts trending, you might get a dozen legs down, but you will still notice the market moving in twos, and you'll see you got a leg down, a two-legged move, and another leg down. And right here, you really got two legs up, a little two-legged correction, and then another leg up, and then two-leg correction, and then another leg up. And it's not always clear, because there's patterns within patterns, and there's different, There's patterns on a micro and a macro and a mid-level. And so you got all this working together, but with time, you'll learn to spot them all together. How long does that take? It just depends. Everybody's different. But in time, you will learn to spot this stuff, just like this trader that I just read the email about. She's learned to spot that stuff, and she's getting better, and she will continue to get better if she continues to study and watch the charts every day. So anyway, going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time. Hey, oh, by the way, if if the weather continues, there may not be a midday chart tomorrow either. So we'll just have to see what the weather's like tomorrow. But if there's not one, you'll know why. Um, because I'm probably still kind of semi locked in due to the weather. Okay, gonna wrap it up. See you next time.